Good morning. It is February 27th, 2025. I'm waking up in Alaska for the first time after crossing the border last night, and I did not make it to Tok. I was super tired and I pulled it off after maybe an hour of driving. I'm not really sure how far from the border I got. It is 7:13 a.m., 11 degrees, and it's absolutely beautiful out there. 7:26 a.m. Let's get going for the day. This looks like possibly the sketchiest, steepest part of the entire drive that I'm likely to hit today. Just about 13 miles left to Tok, Alaska, which is the first real town after crossing the border. Today's run is going to be an exploration of this frozen river. So getting right out of the truck and woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, which is 7 a.m. in the Yukon, which is where I just came from. I'm not too concerned about the ice here at all. Real heavy here with clothes, but there's enough space to turn off here. This was the fourth day or so that I went for a run/hike, and I'd been getting to it earlier and earlier in the day. I'd also been feeling better, not only from having a routine, but from the exercise itself. I was gonna ask if he's all right, but his body language of getting back into the truck as somebody is approaching told me that he's all right. Before I knew it, I had pulled into Tok, fueled up, and got it back on the road. Out of Tok, I wasn't sure if I would make it to the Anchorage area today in time to drop off any of my customers. I had one customer who had offered to meet me in Wasilla, although his house was actually half an hour southwest of Wasilla on the other side of the bay from Anchorage. So it was half an hour out of the way and half an hour that I was happy to drive if it didn't end up being convenient to him to meet me in Wasilla. For the moment, I was focusing on one thing at a time. First, the goal was to simply get into the right area, and then I would reach out to my customers and see when it would be convenient to drop off for them. In Glen Allen, I stopped to grab a smoothie. Looks delicious. Well, I also got a crepe, and that I did not try. I'm now 100 miles from Wasilla, which is my first stop. That customer will either meet me in town or I'll drive another half an hour southwest to his place. I'm still waiting to hear back from him on that. Two pieces of news. A, the mountains are gorgeous. B, the road is pure ice. Might as well be on the ice road, and honestly the ice road would be safer because there is basically no grade, no slope whatsoever on the actual ice road. But this ice road has some nice steep inclines and declines. I knew before the day started that the drive would probably be slow, due to conditions of both the road and possibly the weather. The weather itself was beautiful, but the roads were incredibly icy through most of the route. Still, the drive seemed to go so much faster than I expected. Maybe it's just because of how beautiful the scenery was, keeping me constantly engaged and excited, or maybe it's because I'd been creating such a better routine for myself. Getting better, more consistent sleep, going on a run every day, making videos, generally breaking up the process, and getting into a rhythm as well. The drive overall had gone so much better than previous trips to Alaska that I was amazed that I was already on the final stretch. Despite my resolution to only record video when something was really worth it, I found myself turning the camera on often because the scenery was just that amazing.
Well, this drive has just gone super fast.
Turn right onto Fishhook Willow Road, North Palmer Fishhook Road.
I did not.
Continue on Fishhook Willow Road for 2 miles.
I did not envision this turn because I'm familiar with how to get into Wasilla, and I guess it's kind of taken me the back way in.
Turn left onto North Trunk Road.
This will be the last time that this looks like this. Very soon, it's going to look completely different. This is the indoor lumberyard at Lowe's. This is what I've got. And this is what I'm going to do it. Duct tape fixes everything. Alright, let's get everything ready here before taking that off. I want things to go straight into the back of the truck. To clean out the back of the truck. This is just one big frozen mass. I will admit, for the record, whether everything's in great shape in there or whether it's just off, I will admit I'm nervous. For the record. Alright, I got that blanket off, and this is up here. That's as a dry place for those boxes if I need to set them inside.
Nervous was an understatement. I was genuinely concerned for the items that were in this box. The box I felt was well built and everything was relatively well packaged, though I felt that I could have done slightly better on that. My biggest concern was simply that the weather and the roads had been absolutely horrendous.
Alright, what I can't really see is putting all of this stuff in the truck, but I think that all of it going to the customer in Anchorage can go in the truck. That's the stuff wrapped in green, that's mostly in the back. And I'm not sure that I really see building this deck here tonight. Kind of windy out here. Jeez. Just a little lower. And I drove through so much rain and snow and weather to get to South Dakota, and there wasn't a drop inside that front. to get the lumber in there. It's icy anyways, coming straight out of the indoor of the indoor lumber yard in Lowe's. But the clear plastic wrap boxes should probably go right back in here. Green ones go in the truck. Let's get this done.
Although I was somewhat nervous that the customer near Wasilla had not gotten back to me yet, I recognized that I still had work to do and assumed that everything would happen in its proper time.
I absolutely should have done this in South Dakota as soon as the furniture was unloaded from the truck. It would have protected these things so much better. So I regret that I did not do that. I could have taken better care of my customers' items. And I can't go back in time, so what I will do is just ask them to look things over, and if there are any damages, reimburse them for that. Thankfully, the one customer who did go through U-Ship purchased insurance on her items. However, if there are damages, I will pay the what do you call it? Wow, I must be tired. If there are damages, I will pay the deductible.
Despite my apprehension over the 2 upcoming drop-offs, I was very excited to end this segment of the journey and of the story and move on to the next, which would involve building a deck on the trailer and transporting the airplane back to the lower 48. That was what originally brought me up to Alaska, and I was simply feeling very ready to move on to that part of the story. So although it was very cold and windy, and I didn't know exactly how this process would go, I just got to work doing what needed to be done to move in that direction. And from what I could see at this moment, what needed to be done was breaking down the rear box to be one step closer to having a blank slate to work with to rebuild a new deck for the airplane. At this point, I wasn't sure if I was going to completely scrap everything on the trailer and start fresh, or use the existing decking, which consisted of 2 donated barn doors, 2 pallets that were salvaged from a different shipment, and a large 7x14 piece of complete deck at the very front. But what I did know was that the boxes would need to go, and I wasn't going to get to the front one tonight, but I was determined to finish breaking down the rear box. This turned into quite a job. It took me quite a bit longer than I expected just to break down the box, and then there was still all of the putting everything away and just all of the tidying up loose ends that always takes longer than expected. Sure enough, right on cue, as I was getting close to the end of the job, my customer near Wasilla called me up, and he let me know that he was finishing a job and would be heading back through town in a little bit. I was still there working on the trailer when he came through, and although I pointed out that there had been some water damage to a couple of his boxes, he insisted that everything was fine and gave me another tip. He had already tipped me $100 at pickup when I picked up the items from his brother in Indiana. I was very humbled by that. I didn't get the idea that there was anything in the boxes that would really be damaged by the moisture, but his very friendly attitude, especially after he was also finishing a long day of construction work in the bush, was humbling. Afterwards, I began to drive towards Anchorage since I thought that it would be best to be close to my drop-off for the following day, and I ended up pulling the truck into a Lowe's parking lot and going to sleep for the night in Anchorage.